In this video, we're going to use OpenAI's Agents SDK, which is breaking the internet, in my opinion. You're able to create your own agents to run out and do things in an orchestrated manner. So you can ping the web, you can call functions, which is what we're going to do in this video specifically. And the quick start is a really, really helpful overview on how to get things up and running. But just to show you what we're going to build, we're going to use rapid APIs. I found this local business data, and you can pass in queries, latitude and longitude, and get local business data. So just to show you what we have built, we're going to basically create a local agent, local guide agent, that when you pass in the context of something like I'm planning to take my wife on a date to Sonoma, California tonight and want a nice romantic restaurant with cocktails. That passes into the local agent, and then we'll call. So you'll notice in the tools array, there's get local data, which is a function tool, and we're actually going to call that API. So in the terminal, I have this open, and I'm going to write function pi. And we're in a virtual environment, which is what the recommendation from OpenAI was. And so that actually got data from this local business API. And then it recommends some restaurants. The Girl on the Fig, I've been there, I can vouch. El Dorado Kitchen, love it. I think I've been to the Swiss Hotel once, but a couple of new ones here. So, you can kind of dig through, get like, do they offer cocktails? Do they allow kids, or is it kid friendly? Location, all of that data is here, and we can parse through that. And I'll leave that to you as a test at the end if you're so intrigued by this project. In a new terminal, I'm going to Command K to clear that. I'm going to change directory. So in my main folder, I'm going to make a new directory called function tooling. I'm going to cd into function tooling. And I'm going to create a new Python file called function.py. I am in the virtual environment. I'm going to deactivate that. And because I want to show you the full back over to the quick start. You'll notice I just did this. I made a directory. I cd'd into it. So I changed directory into it. Make sure, I think this is installed, but we're going to install the VM, the virtual environment module. And because I'm using Python 3, I have to do that. Okay, so we know that's installed, and it says to do this every time you start a new session, which is what I had done previously, but I'll do that here. So now you'll notice this little flag that we're in the virtual environment. Let's install OpenAI. I believe I have it, but just in case, Command K to clear that. What you would do is create a new API key. I have just created one, and I use this, and I'll drop a link in the description to this helpful dealing best practices for API keys. And in this example, I am saving it to my Z shell, my terminal. So just to test to make sure that I do have it, let me echo it out. And this is the current API key, which I will be deleting after this video, but you can follow along in these instructions to get this stored properly. I'm going to open function.py in Visual Studio, which is my code editor of choice. Back over in the quick start, let's create our first agent. So we'll need to import from agents, import agent, and we'll just copy this, although I'm going to call it local agent. We'll say local guide agent. Based on the location and context provided, provide the latitude and longitude of the location to get local data, as well as the keyword to search for. That is what I had written. And then I'm going to write a handoff description. And I'm using GitHub Copilot, which is really, really helpful. And you just tab and it autocorrects or autofills a lot of the data. So that is the local agent setup. And now let's create an asynchronous main function. We'll define that, and we'll say result is equal to await runner. So we'll need to import that .run local agent. I'm going to San Francisco today and want to have a nice beer with lunch. So that passes in. Let's import runner also from agents, and then we will print result.final output. This is really what I found works for running this main function, is using asyncio, I think is what you say. So we'll need to import that. import asyncio. Let's just make sure that is working. So back over in the terminal, we're in the virtual environment. We have our API key logged or stored. So and we'll type Python 3 function.py and let's see what happens. Okay, we need to import, I think this is what we needed to install. I think we did that though. So if you in terminal hit the up arrow, you'll get back to what other functions you ran. Okay, nice. Latitude and longitude is what we wanted. And it just gave us, you can search for best breweries. At least we know we're getting a result, and that's what we wanted. Now I'm gonna show you the guardrails, which is a really helpful coding function in the Agents SDK that allows you to check if the input is in the format that you want. So like putting a class and really typing the expected input or output. In this scenario, I'm going to type check the output to make sure that the agent, the local agent, is passing in the latitude and longitude to the function we're going to call in the proper way. So back in the code, I'm going to get the guardrail function output as well as the output guardrail. And I'm going to create a class at the top that is of expected output, and that takes in the base model. The keyword is a string, the latitude is a float, and the longitude is a float. And this is what we're going to want to pass into our function. So that should be helpful there. And yes, I'll create the guardrail agent, which thankfully Copilot is picking up on what I'm putting down. And so we'll pass in the name of the agent, the handoff description, which if we wanted to create a triage agent, which is something I can go through in a future video if you're interested. And then the instructions to check if the input is latitude and longitude coordinates and a keyword. And then we put the output type of what we just constructed here. That is the guardrail agent. And then we'll create an async, let's call it lat long guardrail, which will take in context, the agent, and the input data. We're going to run that guardrail agent that we just created. We're going to pass in the input data that we're getting from the agent and the context. And then we'll say final output as the expected output, which is what we constructed the class above. And we'll return the guardrail function output with the output info of that final output, which we're creating here. And we'll create a tripwire, and it's triggered if it's not the final output.lang or final output.lat, which basically, if those aren't provided, then it'll trigger a tripwire. And that's why that's not working. And down in the local agent, we will add output guardrails, which is an array of output guardrail, and it takes a guardrail function, and we're going to pass in that lat long guardrail. Command S to save that. We actually also need to import from Pydantic, import base model. Pydantic is Python's typing library, which phenomenal name, by the way, because it's pedantic. You have to be explicit about what you're receiving or providing. Love that. And now let's add the function tool. Okay, so I'm going to say at function tool, which we'll need to import from agents. And we'll define get local data, and that will take in the expected output of type expected output. And for now, we're just going to print what are we getting from there. Expected output.lat, expected output.lang, expected output.keyword. Command S to save that. And now we need to add tools array with a comma, and we're going to get local data. Pass that tool in, and that's how that works. Command S to save that. Command K to clear the terminal. Python 3 or Python, and then the function. And okay, we're getting lat long data. So let's check that it's in San Francisco. And I think, is that what it said? Yeah, 37, 122, negative 122, that is San Francisco. So pretty cool that it's just getting that data and returning it. And then now we can pass it into this local business API from Rapid API. So I'm just going to copy this code, and in the function tool, let's print it or command V it to paste it in, highlight all of this, command curly bracket to move it to the right. We need to import requests for this to work. Okay, so we could store this API key. I'll delete it, of course. We could store it as we stored it for the OpenAI API. But as you can see here, we're getting the query, the lat, the long, and a couple other things like the region that just comes default, which we can keep. But I will say, instead of this string, we're going to put extract each of these from the expected output. Okay, we're going to print it out for now. Command S to save that. Let's go back to the terminal and try that again. Okay, we're getting a response from the API, which is pretty awesome. And, you know, great beer selection. Set that to true. So yeah, this local API was just fed in from our agent to get some of the most relevant local spots, like a gastropub with 36 tap beers, plus menus and casual digs. It's doing what I expected, and as you can see here, this is a super powerful tool that OpenAI just released. In the next video, I think I'm going to try to go into the web search. You can see here the web search tool is pretty awesome, and I'm excited. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know if you have any requests. I'm taking requests to build things that people find interesting, and I hope you'll follow along. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your interest in automating away your repetitive tasks.